Dmitri Alperovitch, who has been with us since the start of this war and has really called the chess moves 3 or 4 moves ahead with the Silverado Policy Accelerator, the think tank he founded. Dmitri, all right, even if this reporting is true, nobody ever thought that Vladimir Putin surrounded himself with Lincoln's team of rivals. How much of this is sort of U.S. propaganda just kind of continuing to try to poke at Putin?
Well, I'm sure we love needling him and making clear to the world that he is not in charge or he's not getting the right information. But the reality is that he knows this war is not going well. We know that he thought he could take over Kyiv in 3 days. That hasn't happened. We're over a month in, and he hasn't accomplished any of his major objectives.
In the New York Times today by Bret Stephens, I know this is not exactly your favorite op-ed. Did Putin miscalculate? This alternative analysis of Putin's performance could be wrong, that he miscalculated. Then again, in war, politics, and life, it's always wiser to treat your adversary as a canny fox, not a crazy fool. Dmitri?
Yeah, I read that op-ed, and I have to say that I couldn't disagree more with it. The reality is that Putin did not launch this war for gas. He has plenty of gas. What he's struggling right now is finding buyers for that gas as sanctions are starting to impact his sales. And the reality is that he absolutely embarrassed his military. He's choking off his economy. He's diplomatically isolating himself. There is no way that this is brilliant Putin playing 3D chess. In fact, if all of our adversaries were this brilliant, we would be in really good shape.
Well, either this brilliant or this well-armed. Listen to some of the Russian soldiers, the conscripts that are now being sent to the eastern part of the country to continue the fight.
Просим распространить.
Которые не стреляют, нихуя, блядь. Обычных студентов, блядь, Иванова на связи, блядь. Горловка на...
You probably know the Russian better than we do, but they're sending 14-year-old people with rifles from the 1940s in to fight. Is this really how bad Putin's army is equipped?
He's got real problems. Now, there's some units that are very well armed. In fact, the Chechens, the Kadyrov's Chechens have night vision equipment that's latest generation, really good weaponry that he's probably giving it to them himself. But there's no question that they're sending conscripts, even though Putin said that he wouldn't do that. They're sending people that are not well trained, and we know that they're having equipment issues. Absolutely, this has been a huge, huge embarrassment for the Russian military and the Russian government.
So the idea behind how Vladimir Putin declares victory, as we come over to the maps, you talk about the Chechens. They're fighting down here in Mariupol. They're fighting here in the east. We understand that the Ukrainian line here is still pinned down. The Russians move south here. They move north here. They pinch off the entire eastern part of the country. They keep their land bridge to Crimea, huge oil and natural gas deposits and coal, all in eastern Ukraine that they could pinch off. Doesn't that give Vladimir Putin the major win at home that he needs?
No, because most Russians don't care about Donbass. They don't care about the land bridge to Crimea. There's no sentimental value there. And the cost of the Russian economy is so enormous. And by the way, there is real questions that they'll be able to take all of the Donbass. And there's no natural defenses there. So they're going to be fighting an insurgency for years with Ukrainians flooding weaponry into that zone. So it's going to be really, really tough for them to hold it and really tough for them to explore it. In fact, the Europeans will absolutely not buy any oil or gas that is produced from that region, and they don't have the pipelines going to China from there. So you're not really winning anything.
Fair point. It gives him a little bit of land. Other than that, how does this end? You think about right in this area, we know that the supply lines for the Russians are getting harassed. They're either retreating or digging in. The Ukrainians were able to hit a huge Russian ammunition dump here inside of Russia. Put us inside Vladimir Putin's head right now, if it's not this plan.
So if you believe the U.S. government that he is not getting true information about how it's going, he knows that he hasn't been able to take over the country, of course, but he may still think that maybe he can take over Donbass. He'll take it after Mariupol falls, which is likely within the near future here. But the reality is there's big questions on that. And the reality is also that the insurgency will continue in eastern Ukraine, and it's going to create more problems for him politically, domestically. His forces are exhausted. He doesn't have a lot of reserves left to send into Ukraine. Real problems for him.
becomes a war of attrition. It becomes a war of supply lines and logistics. As they say, amateurs talk about logistics, amateurs talk about tactics, and veterans talk about logistics. The big issue right now for the United States and thus the Ukrainians is whether or not they can continue this flow of Stinger missiles, Javelin missiles in. Each Javelin, $175,000, each Stinger, $120,000. The Ukrainians want 500 of these a day. Forget the money for a second. We can't produce them. Is Vladimir Putin willing to pay in Russian lives to simply wait out until the U.S. and thus the Ukrainians run out of ammunition?
He's not going to be able to afford it. And by the way, he doesn't even have that many tanks that we can fire those javelins at. And the NLAWs from Britain are actually much cheaper to produce. And we're flooding a lot of those into Ukraine as well. But small arms, IEDs, mines that we're going to be able to use against their troops, against their convoys, the Ukrainians, I mean, of course, that's going to create huge problems for them. And Russian people are going to get tired of this war pretty quickly.
Last question for you, Dmitri. If it doesn't end with Putin getting a victory in the East and getting some kind of natural resources and freeing the ethnically Russian areas, then how does it end?
Well, he may try to get some sort of deal done by pressuring Zelenskyy with absolute brutality, with airstrikes, with artillery, with missiles pounding Kiev and maybe other cities, taking a lot of civilian lives, and trying to get Zelenskyy to come to the table with some real proposals that he can claim are a victory for him. But it's not clear that he'll be able to do that. The Ukrainians have suffered a lot. They know that they have a chance of victory here and to push the Russians out. And I think they're going to go all the way.
Yeah, I just saw on Zelensky's Twitter account talking about we're done with talks. There is no deal. The fighting continues and we're going to win. He's got the momentum right now. Dmitri, thank you. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.